You are listening to the Horse Radio Network, part of the Equine Network family.
What makes some ingredients illegal when it comes to supplements and medications and horse showing? This week, we're talking to a veterinarian on what goes into that process. Also, spring is here, which means you're likely inundated with mud, like the rest of us. But don't fret, we've got some tips. Thanks for tuning in. From Heels Down Mag, a podcast where horse pros chat about what's happening in the horse world over drinks. Welcome to Happy Hour. I'm Justine Griffin.
I'm Jessica Payne.
And I'm Ellie Woznicka. Welcome to episode 134 of Heels Down Happy Hour.
Hello.
Hey, guys.
Hello.
How's it going?
Ellie, are you like waist deep in mud, or how much mud are you living with?
I literally don't even have that much mud right now. It's literally by the gates, and Berkeley pulled a freaking shoe in like,
of course he did.
The one like 10 by 20 section of his pasture that has mud. I was like, you've got to be kidding me.
I love Ellie because she's like, tell me it's spring without telling me it's spring. And she shows the horseshoe. I was like, that's amazing. I'm like, so I thought from that video, you must be knee deep in mud, to be honest.
Nope.
Oh,
just
fun stuff.
I know. Literally, I've never been so happy to have a metal detector in my life because Matt and I both.
You do? Wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. How do you think I find my shoes?
I thought you could find them.
Oh. No, sometimes I can. So like Matt and I were walking it, and it was like, we'd been out there like 2 hours. We brought the horses in at like 7:30. So we went till like, we couldn't see anymore. And we're like, I can't find it. I was like, that's weird. So then I was out looking the next day, and I'm doing passes. Mind you, this is not a small paddock. Okay. This is like, I think it's 2.5 acres. So I'm like, what the heck? Like, where is this thing? So then I'm like, I bet it's in that one muddy spot. I'm going to get the metal detector. So I did. And that sucker lost it in like a foot of mud in the only section of the pasture that has mud.
Of course he did.
I'm like, how did you do this? I mean, he's in bar shoes now. So, I mean, granted,
that kind of makes it easier.
Yeah, that makes it hard for him anyway. But yeah, so he got that put back on today. But I was like, you've got to be kidding me. It was not the weekend. And literally, I swear to God, he heard me because I made a comment to Matt when we were mucking stalls. We brought the horses in. I was like, it's supposed to be nice this weekend. Like, I want to get the horses back in shape so I can start riding soon. The next day, shoe off. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to pretend you didn't do that on purpose, Berkeley.
And this episode is brought to you by Traverse City Horse Shows. All right, guys. So the drink we have for this episode comes from Marlene, who posted this in our Facebook group. We're a little late for St. Patrick's Day. I don't know if you guys celebrated this year, but this is a very festive St. Patty's Day drink, which actually came from Total Wine. So thanks, Total Wine. Huh? But it's a St. Patrick's mint martini. So
yummy.
Probably not something I would pick for myself, but for like the holiday, for sure, I would splurge on this. So if you're going to make it at home, it's 1.5 parts white chocolate cream liqueur. Total Wine suggests Cabernet. Then it's 2 parts chocolate vodka, whatever your favorite vodka is. 1/2 part of creme de la menthe. Did I say that right? Maybe?
Yep.
And then you're going to top with some whipped cream. Yum. And if you want to be super extra, you can garnish with some green sprinkles or like rainbow gummies. I'm not a big minty person. Like I can do like a mojito, but this, I would do this. I would indulge.
Oh yeah. Like this is like a dessert martini.
Yes. Yeah. It sounds like, good.
I wouldn't drink multiple, but this is a dessert. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I'd be afraid that it'd be too, I don't know, between the mint and the chocolate. I think that might be too much for me, but I'd probably have one and be like, look, this is fun and festive. But then I'd be like, oh, maybe too sweet. I feel like this is an Ellie drink.
And then I'd finish it for you. And then
exactly. That's exactly. Then Ellie would be like, here, I'd have it for the party, take a couple sips and give it to Ellie.
There you go. Right. It's like a one and done. Like you have one, you enjoy it, but that's it. Like a dessert. But all right, guys, it's time for news. Jess, you want to go first?
Yes. Did you guys, it's been such a fun couple weeks watching these big horse shows. And I have to tell you, the League of Nations at WEC was amazing to watch.
It was.
It was so fun. Like, it was like a nail biter to the end. And McLean came home. The horse, he was on Ilex, and it always plays after the first jump. And it was like he pulled it together. They all rode so amazing between Lily Keenan, McLean, Aaron Vale, and Laura Kraut for the Americans. They brought home the win, and they didn't even have a jump off. So it was a super impressive night, and it was fun. And I just am super impressed how WEC's done such a good job. Like,
Yeah.
it looks super fun. We went last year and we watched, but this year we watched from home, and both experiences are honestly pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful place for a show of that caliber. You know, like it was.
Yeah.
And it's really exciting when it's that exciting of an event, right? Like McLean's like after interviews like gave me chills, you know. It was just
Right.
cool to hear them, and like what a super team it was too. It was very cool to watch.
Yeah.
What about you, Ellie? What do you got for news?
Well, I have mud news.
Of course. See, she does have mud somewhere.
So I know my gates are the worst right now, but like I've been decent with the horses not being disgusting, but that is unprecedented for me, and I probably won't last because it's supposed to rain like literally tomorrow. So, you know, I'm thankful for it today. But I found some ideas on different tactics for keeping the pastures as, I guess, as well maintained as we can, because obviously you can't completely avoid it. It's impossible. But there are some tips and tricks, so I wanted to share them. So biggest one, right? Overcrowding. So, you know, if you've got a high traction area, hence why my gates are so bad, you know, the more they stand there, the more they dislodge the grass, the more mud you're going to get. You know, horses will be horses. And I've definitely given up on my gates. But I also had this tip about trying dry footings. So I've seen stuff like adding, you know, like gravel and things like that to like help with the drainage in the area. But I have so many barefoot horses that I don't want to do that. But I saw that you can also try wood chips and hog fuel, which is like the bark and stuff, you know, that comes off of when they're processing wood, sand, and like other materials that allow water to drain through. And I also, with looking at those, you know, the mud control systems, like they're like the little squares that you put.
Yeah,
I've been
the
thinking
webbies.
about those.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about those too, which would definitely be a good option for your, you know, high traffic areas that you can't avoid. But what I found interesting is they're suggesting that we should actually inspect our runoff systems. So to make sure like gutters on the barns and sheds are like clear and you're getting water where it needs to go. And suggest obviously that runoff be in an area that you don't have to go through often. So we were lucky because we have a little bit of like a French drain around the barn, around the back end, where we don't, you know, walk the horses. And that's the best for having all of the barn and everything that comes from those gutters go that way. But we have one that's not linked up anymore in the front. So it's making the driveway kind of gross. So we've got to get that fixed. But then this I thought was really cool. And I tried it last year. So I'm hoping that it will do well this year. But a rain garden. Have you guys heard of these things?
No. Tell me
No.
more. Yeah.
Okay.
But I feel like I might have one. So
Yeah.
you probably should. I'm like pausing because I'm like, I might have that. So
Yeah.
please
so
tell me
they're
what it is, and then I'll tell you if I've heard about it.
Yeah, they're like buffer zones basically of like plants around pastures and driveways and like hard surfaces that help capture rainwater and reduce runoff and, you know, mud. So like plants like, you know, deep-rooted wildflowers, small trees, shrubs and things like that to attract the water basically, right? If the tree is taking it, then there's less to go into the ground to be mud. I did like a weeping willow last year and it grew quite a bit. So I'm hoping that this like spring and summer, it will grow even more. I literally put it in like the wettest spot. I was like, okay, be a tree. So I'm hoping that will work. But I thought that was a really cool idea. I mean,
So
obviously
that's what our architect did. Instead of gutters around our barn, we have shrubs with rocks. And so it captures all the water. And so it makes it, it would be basically a garden buffer is what you'd say. And so it takes away all the rain and it lets these shrubs get quite big and it keeps it so it's like landscaping and a buffer all at the same time. So it keeps the runoff from like going down to our paddocks and everything else.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So our whole barn is surrounded by it because we didn't put in gutters or anything because we figured they said, oh, no, you can just do this instead of the gutters and save a little bit of money and have landscaping.
Interesting.
That is true.
Yeah. So that was one of their ideas. I'd never thought about it. And I was like, as you're saying it, I'm like, I might have one. I'm just not quite sure.
Now I'm like, if only I could put those in the gates of my pasture, but I don't think my horses would like want to walk through shrubs all the time.
Yeah, that might be a little harder.
But I think I'm gonna try those, like the control pads, and then try to put sand on top of them. But obviously that's a summer job. I'm not doing it right now.
No. Justine, what do you have for us?
So I have an interesting update on, maybe you guys have seen this, the FEI started implementing a new noseband testing rule this year. And like most things, it was pretty dramatic and people had lots of things to say about it. And naturally, it's one of those things that like blew up on online forums and there's been a lot of misinformation about it. And the FEI is trying to clear that up. And I'll put my journalism hat on for just a second to say, I don't take what you read on Facebook as the truth. Like I would go to like find the source of the information to make sure you're getting all of the rules correctly. Like the FEI rule book and their website is a great place to find out what is actually required in this noseband testing system. But again, just to catch you up, like to give you the background, in 2023, the FEI General Assembly approved the use of this new plastic tool, which is meant to slide under a horse's noseband at competition to make sure that the noseband is not too tight. They approved that rule. Everybody freaked out, but it was deferred until January 1, 2025, this year, to be implemented. But people were still freaking out, and they were still getting like the manufacturing of the little tool. It's just like a little plastic piece. It's really not that big. It's really not that invasive. A steward at a horse show just slides it under the noseband really easily to make sure that it's not too tight against the horse's face. But so because what they were getting that tool developed, it was deferred until May. So we're coming up on like when this is going to be like in the real world, like horses will have their noseband tested. But the FEI told Horse Sport, which is a publication in Canada, that, the intention of this tool was never to test every single horse competing in every FEI class. It's really just kind of like the protocols, other protocols, like where it will kind of be randomly tested or targeted testing before or after a specific rides. It was never considered to be like widespread. Every horse at the horse show has to be tested in order to compete. And so the FEI is trying to clear that up because people are naturally kind of concerned about this. But again, I'm glad that they're trying to, talk to the media and talk to the public to kind of clear this up. Because again, it's not obligatory. It's not like you need to check every horse at every horse show. The number of checks will depend on the size of the stewarding team at any specific horse show and the number of horses that are actually competing. So it's not like every single person's going to have to have this done in order to like get the green light to go down center line. But I do think it's interesting. They've gotten a lot of feedback from, various organizations like other dressage riding agencies that put on horse shows. But really, they decided to adopt this after the International Society for Equitation Science came out with this tool. And it was determined that generally speaking, we should see about 25% more slack in nosebands against the face. I mean, that sounds like a pretty big statistic to me when you're really thinking about tightness, about, a horse's ability to breathe. So they've shown videos on how this works. It's really quick. It's just like almost like a bit check. Like they slide it in, they test it, they slide it out. It's really not a big deal. But, like anything else that is surrounded around welfare right now with horses, people can get pretty fired up about it. So I'm glad the FEI is trying to set the record straight. And this is just another reminder of, like, if you're looking for factual information and how this is going to affect you and your ability to compete and how you're going to take your horses to the horse show, don't ask anybody on Facebook about the rules. Like, go to the FAI website and look at the rule book yourself. That's why those exist. They're wonderful and full of lots of information.
The competitive environments in which horses perform are inherently unnatural. They're separated from their herd, surrounded by movement and noise. These heightened awarenesses can make them unpredictable and reactive, compromising both performance and safety. Sin-Chill Pure is designed to help mitigate these natural fears while maintaining clarity and control. Made with pure plant-based amino acids, Sin-Chill Pure promotes the sense of confidence in your horse without dulling their competitive edge. Go to sinchillequine.com to learn more.
All right, guys. So I'm really excited to share a new product by my favorite company ever, EcoGold, for a product review this month.
What is this?
I know. Patricia's at it again. She's got something new to share with us.
She just keeps surprising us.
I know. She's so good at this.
Yes.
So I first saw a glimpse of it at ADA. I'm sure you guys are familiar with that. It's like an equestrian merchandise conference that always happens in Dallas, and that happened earlier in the year. And during a fashion show there was a collaboration between EcoGold pads and Armatech apparel. So Armatech makes beautiful sun shirts, training and competition shirts. They're very like block colors, like with these like nice monochrome, like very simple but like block type colors, like black with, white collars and cuffs, but maybe like a simple line design. I think they're really sleek. They're beautiful. And so EcoGold created a pad that matches that look that Armatech has designed. So they are collaborating together to kind of create this matchy beautiful set for training rides, for horse shows, just to look nice for any ride at home. And this new pad that EcoGold has created for this Armatech collaboration is called the Vertical. And it's everything you want from an EcoGold pad. It's light, it's breathable, but it has the foam for impact protection. But what makes it different is it's all one color. I got the pad in black with a white stripe off the back of it. It's just like one white line that kind of intersects down the pad. It's really sharp. And then I pair it with my black Breeze half pad, the light, the very ultra light Breeze half pads that they came out last year. And it has the nice white trim on the half pad that matches that like sharp line on the vertical pad. And then with this monochromatic training shirt, like sun shirt from Armatech, it's really like a beautiful look when you put it all together. I mean, I am a dressage diva now by default because that's the only thing Mikey and I can do. So, like the fashion is like I'm slowly getting on board and getting, excited to try new outfits. But I like simple and sleek, and this like really plays into that. And the Vertical is sort of like the best of all the worlds of EcoGold. Like I really like the Breeze pads. Being in Florida, the thinner pads are really nice. The Vertical is thinner like that, but it still has the impact protection on their back. So it's a little bit thicker along the spine, which is important to me. And the Vertical comes in all the shapes and sizes you want. So dressage, jumper, cross country, but it only comes in select colors. It's black, white, navy, or a really cool white tweed pattern. And that is specific to match these shirts from Armatech. The Armatech shirts are really light, they're beautiful, and they're really easy to wear. They're super breezy, like I feel very cool in them with a long sleeve shirt and the nice collar. So if you want to check these out for yourself, you should. They're at the EcoGold website. EcoGold also sells Armatech apparel directly on their website, so you can get the whole look just by going to the EcoGold website. And EcoGold is offering a coupon code specific for Heels Down Happy Hour listeners. If you use the code Happy Hour, all one word, all lowercase, you can get 15% off through April 25th. So if you're going to go to Kentucky next week or next month, I would think about buying this before then, but you can probably see it at EcoGold's vendor booth, and you could definitely see it on their website and their social media channels, and we'll be definitely sure to share photos of my set so you guys can see it up close. But it's really beautiful. I like that it's simple. Again, like just a sharp change of color with really sharp lines. I'm all about that kind of look. So I'm really excited about this collaboration.
Yeah, and I really like too that when you look at the pad on EcoGold's website, you can see it matched with the shirt, because I'm like, oh, well, how does it actually look together? And it's nice without being like over the top matchy. You know what I mean?
Yep. No, exactly. It's like if you want to dip your toe into the matchy world, this is the perfect
how you
place.
do it.
Yes, the perfect way to get started. So again, don't forget about the coupon code Happy Hour, all one word, and you can see it all for yourself at ecogold.ca.
If you're thinking about your summer, make this year the time that you experience Traverse City Horse Shows, where world-class competition meets the perfect summer escape. They have 12 weeks of premier hunter jumper equitation events, including 3 CSI 5-star weeks, a Nations Cup week at a 3-star. The Traverse City is where all the top riders compete and win. Outside of the ring, you can enjoy the pristine beaches, fine dining, endless summer fun, the ideal way to compete and unwind. Reserve your stalls and start planning at traversecityhorseshows.com.
All right, everybody. I am super excited to announce our guest. We have with us today Dr. Edwin, or Ted, Simpson. He's the founder and CEO of Synutra Equine, a horse health supplement company based in Ida, Arkansas. Synutra Equine was born of a growing concern over standard drug treatments used in veterinary medicine, coupled with a fresh curiosity in natural therapies. Thank you so much for coming, Dr. Simpson.
Well, thanks for having me. It's good to be here.
We are so happy to have you. So I want to dive right in because I love this product, and Justine and I have talked about it a lot. How was SynChill developed? How did you find a link to plant-based amino acids that work naturally for horses who may be nervous or busy-minded?
Well, I'll start with, at the time I was practicing at Santa Anita at the racetrack. And every spring, a new crop of 2-year-olds come in from the farm, and typically they're just unprepared. We would call them ill broke back in the day, but really they're just not prepared for that environment, and they're scared and confused. And especially the young fillies, they tie up a lot. And I had this one trainer who was a private trainer at the time. His name is George Gutierrez. He's a really, really good horseman, but he would get these babies that came in and they were scared to death. They couldn't even put a bridle on them. And you can't sedate those horses with drugs every day. And I started experimenting with all kinds of natural products to try to find an answer. And it took a while to dial it in, to get the preparation right. But so my background in biochemistry and my interest in natural products in the herbal world kind of led me to the formulations that we have now. And those guys that worked in those barns, the riders, the grooms, the trainers, helped me fine-tune that into a product that was effective.
Can you explain what goes into deciding what is banned by the USEF and why customers don't have to worry about those kind of ingredients in Synutra and products like the SynChill and the SynChill AF that we all love?
Well, I'll start with the FEI because I consider them to be the world's authority in drugging, if you will, or your medication issues for the equestrian world. And USEF does use the FEI banned substance list. So none of the ingredients that we use are banned substances. And there is some confusion currently about some of the ingredients because some people will call the hotline and get told on a phone call that a particular ingredient is banned. But the one thing that has been clear from USEF is that they don't ban graphonia seed, which is the source of 5-HTP. But sometimes they'll tell people that 5-HTP is banned, and I'm not sure why that is. The bottom line is whether the products are from tryptophan or griffonia seed or some other synthetic form of 5-HTP that we don't use, they all have the same end biochemical effects and the same metabolites that would be found if anything were found. But none of these products are tested by the testing laboratories of the world because they're not important. None of these substances change performance. They don't make horses faster, slower, stronger, weaker. They just make them safer. But why people don't have to worry is because none of these ingredients are on banned substance lists, and none of our label ingredients, which are our ingredients, we put everything we use on the label, none of those things are banned and none of them show up in a testing profile.
So, Dr. Simpson, I think that's important for what I want to ask you next. I'm wondering if we can almost back up a minute and look at the bigger picture here on, can you explain a little bit from your experience of just how animal supplements are regulated, like beyond USEF or the FEI? I'm sure, with your company, with Sinutra, you have interactions with the FDA here in America. Are there certain parameters or safety requirements that you have to handle from them too? So
yes, that's a really good question because it's another thing that's poorly understood. And before I was making supplements, even though I was a veterinarian for years, I had no idea how this worked. So what I found is a lot of veterinarians, and on the human side, a lot of physicians say the same thing, that these supplements are not regulated. They can put anything in there. It's the wild, wild west. You never know. And that could not be farther from the truth because, first of all, there are no dietary supplements for animals as a category. They're feed additives. So we're regulated differently than the human side. We're regulated as feed additives, which are basically feed. And the code is 21 CFR 507. That's the law, the code that regulates this industry. So we're licensed with the FDA. We've been inspected by the FDA. They do surprise inspections. So they just show up and want to see how you operate, what you do. They go through your records. Our record keeping is enormous. There are SOPs and all these other documents that control the way things are measured. And for each ingredient, 2 people have to weigh it. 2 people have to add it. They have to sign off on it. It's quite involved. And so we've been inspected by the FDA on 2 different occasions, and we've never had any recommendation to change anything. So, but the FDA also regulates the way we source our ingredients, where they come from. The people that source our ingredients have to be vetted and have to be FDA inspected as well. And our labeling has to meet FDA guidelines. Now, there are a lot of products out there that are in violation of FDA guidelines for labeling. So I don't know what they do on the other side of that, but all of our products are FDA compliant.
I'm glad you mentioned that just because, supplements, there are a million of them for us to look at for a horse, right? And I feel like the marketing can say anything. They could make up anything, but how do we know what's true? So, the banned substance list from a competing side point helps consumers, but then also I appreciate you filling us in on the FDA side of what goes into making sure these products are safe and maybe do what they're supposed to, or what they say they're going to do.
Right. And I mean, it feels like the banned substance list is in a competition anyway, is expanding all of the time, right? Is that just because we don't know a lot about how certain ingredients affect our horses, Dr. Simpson? Or do you think there's room for more research to be done on nutritional products?
Well, there are multiple answers to that. For one, is yes, the banned substance list does grow, and it should. There's a lot of stuff out there that should not be given to horses. And when I look at the banned substance lists, about half of it, I've never heard of those drugs because there's no place for them to be used in equine medicine, much less equine sport. So there's that. And for the research side of things, it's tricky because there's always a need for research. We can never know enough. When we quit learning, we quit growing, and we quit living. So we always need to learn more. It's tricky with the research with supplements for horses because the markets are relatively small compared to, for example, the human market for a like product. So, and drugs, this as a side note, this happens with pharmaceuticals, with drugs and horses as well. There aren't really that many drugs that are FDA approved for horses. They're mostly used off-label. It's because the market isn't big enough to support the cost of research. So when I was practicing at the racetrack, I had a lot of horses that I could run with trials, like our gastric ulcer supplements. I scoped thousands of horses' stomachs, and I could do those things because it was part of my practice. But on the other side of things, in the if we'll call them horse supplements, it's difficult to pay for research because we can't charge enough for the product. So it's a tricky area.
No, 100%. And honestly, I have a question because there's so many different things what are some of the most common myths you hear from horse owners when they're looking for calming type supplements?
Well, I'll give you the two biggest myths for me. One is that they're calming supplements. So yeah. I think this category is misnamed. The category is called calming supplements for marketing. So when we go to sell one of our quote unquote calming supplements, one of our essential products, they're categorized that way, not because of us, but because of the market. So we don't call them calming supplements. Because they're really safety supplements, in my opinion. So these products, whether they're our products or any of our competitors, any of those out there, whether they contain tryptophan, magnesium, L-theanine, 5-HTP, all of these things are meant to help horses safely navigate these foreign environments of training and competition. While at the same time they're being separated from their herd, if you will, and surrounded by predators, which are people. So these environments are really unnatural for horses. And so we're trying to help make the horses safer. So we're not really trying to calm them. So that is a myth. And the other one is really about what's banned and what's not banned. In order to say that, if you read the rules of GR 410, which is the USEF rules about medication, so it bans depressants, tranquilizers, stimulants, local anesthetics, and psychotropics. None of these so-called calming supplements are any of that, and they can't be established to be that. There are no studies that say they are that. So they should all be allowed, in my opinion, regardless of who makes them. So I call that a myth, calling these things banned, because they're not banned anywhere.
Interesting. This is something this discussion is near and dear to my heart because, like you said, Dr. Simpson, it is a safety issue. I was someone who had never used a quote unquote calming supplement until I had a horse with a suspensory tear, and he spent many, many months in a stall. And when it was time to safely start introducing more movement in his life, naturally he had a lot to say. He had a lot of moments of all 4 feet off the ground, and Sinchill really helped me find confidence in feeling like I could be secure on his back without, I think, giving my poor horse that feeling of being groggy and in a fog. It really was helpful to me. So I'm a believer just because I've used it. And I do think that these products have a place in the sport for that kind of reason. And I appreciate you taking a few minutes to talk to us more about it. But Jess, I know you guys use Sinutra products all the time in your program too.
I think we use every one of them, including their sleep one for humans that we've talked about, which thank you very much. That is for myself. But yes, I mean, for the biggest thing for us, Dr. Simpson, we've spoken before about what to do for certain horses and stuff, but I think you're 100% right. It's making the horse comfortable in an environment that they're not comfortable in. So, like our big jumpers will take the Sin Chill AF, and it doesn't calm them. It makes them focused. If they were calm, they'd have a lot of rails. But they get in that fight or flight mode, and it just brings them back to kind of a reality of a comfort and being comfort in us, so that they can perform and do their best and feel their best.
Right. Can I share a short story with you?
Absolutely.
Sure.
So,
yeah.
While I was coming back to my office this evening, I was speaking with a trainer, and honestly, I don't know where she is, but she's a trainer that has a barn full of horses and riders, and she was talking to me about which products are okay, and some of them from other manufacturers and the different things she uses. But we got to the same point in the conversation, and she said, I have 70-year-olds getting on horses to go out and compete, and there are other horses and riders over the hedges, and the horses spook at them. If all I can do is lunge this horse for a few minutes, somebody's going to get hurt if we can't use one of these supplements for the horses. It's just too dangerous in that environment. And you have a 70-year-old fall off a horse and break a hip. That's horrible.
Absolutely.
Those statistics for them are not good.
No. We appreciate all the research you have done and putting your heart and soul into these products, because they are amazing, amazing products, from, helping our horse that had a broken leg, that thank you very much, obviously, for speaking in length about that, to all of the rest of them for the safety and everything. So thank you again for coming on and kind of letting our reader or listeners kind of in the insights of all of it.
Well, thank you for having me. I enjoy talking about this stuff.
Oh, we love it. Thank you very much.
All right, everybody. So if you've been paying attention to what's been going on in Wellington this season, you might be familiar with the name of our next guest, Charlotte Jacobs, who had an amazing performance in the Nations Cup Wellington CSI 4-star. Charlotte is a show jumper who, after having a really successful junior career, has moved on to create a farm, North Star Sport Horses, where she is now competing at the top of the sport in show jumping. Charlotte, we're so happy to have you on the show. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me.
So speaking of Wellington and your Nation Cup's performance, I mean, it was so exciting. That was such a great show to watch. Can you tell me a little bit more about what that team experience was like for you?
Yeah, it was incredible. It's always an honor to ride for Team USA. We had an all-female team, myself, Carly Anthony, Laura Kraut, and Natalie Dean. And I thought we really did a great job, and we had a lot of fun while doing it, which was great.
Yeah, it was amazing. I love an all-girl team.
Yeah, it was pure girl power, which was awesome.
That's amazing. Will you tell us all a little bit about the horses you have in your string this coming competition season, and what are your goals for the fall and the summer?
So I have Playboy, who's the horse that I rode in the Nations Cup that night. He's just 10, and I've really just been stepping him up sort of to that 4-star and 5-star level. This year, he'll hopefully step up and be a little bit more consistent in the 5-star division. With him, I really hope to jump on another team or two this year. And then the second half of the year, we'll really follow that major league circuit. I have another exciting 10-year-old. His name is Korbach. He is one that I just bought from Joost Lansing in December. He's one that I've clicked with really quickly. I just jumped him in the 150 final Saturday night in Wellington. And he was clear in the first round. Yeah, he's amazing. So I'm excited about him. I think he's sort of going to be up at the level that Playboy's at, which is exciting. We're just still getting to know each other. And then I have a few more sort of 10-year-olds, 9-year-olds, a 7-year-old that's really exciting. And then, of course, my horse, Rinkula Moshan, who has been a great partner to me. He got injured in September, but he is just coming back. He's back in full work. So hopefully he'll be back by the summer.
So you're hoping to take those 3 for the major league stuff and for the fall season.
Yes, yeah. Hopefully Roy will be back. Roy is Rinkula Moshan. Yep. Hopefully he'll be back for the major league season, but Playboy will be seen a lot and Duck will probably be seen a lot. And my other horses, Thomas Court Valley Patrick, Instrumental, and Pablo C will sort of be my main horses for the big stuff this summer.
Very nice.
So Charlotte, you've had like a really successful couple of years competing at the top of the sport. It's been really fun to watch from afar. I'm wondering, can you tell us a little bit more about, it's a lot of hard work to reach goals like that. How did you do it? Was it finding the right horses or how, I know there are lots of pieces to the puzzle.
Yeah, I think I found a program that really works for me. I work with my husband, who's my manager, and he trains me, and we work together a lot, which is really fun. And then I have Greg Broderick, who finds me all of my horses. I spent 3 years in Ireland, 3 summers in Ireland with Greg, and we bought a few horses just sort of in the developmental stages and brought them along, and those were horses that were very successful with me. And yeah, I think I found a program that I really believe in, and it's made me have a lot of confidence in myself and in my horses and, brought me success, which is amazing.
That's awesome. Like to have that support system, it sounds like, huh?
Yeah, it's an incredible, I think we all just work really well together. Obviously my parents buy all my horses and they're very, very into it, which I'm very blessed that they are. And then my husband's a horse person and he's the same, he's so into it. We love having horses and we love having young horses. And so, then you throw Greg into the mix and he finds, in my opinion, some of the best young horses in the world. So it's a great match.
And there's a lot of work outside of the horses, right? Like, how do you prep yourself both mentally and physically as an athlete for some of those really big events and Grand Prix? Do you have any advice for riders who are actively working on trying to achieve their big goal ring aspirations?
Yeah, I mean, outside physically, I work out a lot. I don't know if that's sort of the question you're asking, but yeah. And then mentally, I think that was something that I always had a bit of a mental block with trying to be successful. I remember as a junior, I worked a lot with a sports psychologist, and I still do to this day, to make sure that I'm mentally ready because the pressure is incredible just for, a minute in the ring, basically. But I work really hard on that to make sure that I'm prepared and I practice a lot at home and imagine myself in those pressure situations, and I've sort of learned to deal with them a lot better now.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for sports psychology and really getting in the zone, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's taken me a long time. I mean, I'm not going to say like, oh, I know what know how to do it now. I'm still learning every day how to deal with pressure and, deal with how to jump a big Grand Prix. But it's something you have to work on every single day. And I think it's easy when things are going right. But when things start to go wrong is when, you need to be mentally very tough and understand that this is a sport and there's going to be ups and downs.
Absolutely.
So on a totally different note, we are excited with the podcast that we're partnering with Traverse City Horse Shows this year. And they're about to gear up for spring, lovely summer series. And I know it's a stop that has always been on your team's calendar. What is it about Traverse that keeps you guys from coming back every year?
Yeah, I mean, I love Traverse City. Every year we go back for a longer period of time. I just love, the horses are really happy there. The weather is always perfect. The town is great. We rent a house close to the horse show. it's turning into like a little bit of our summer sort of hub, and we'll be there June, July, and September this year. So
wow.
the entire time. Yeah. So I'm not sure exactly how many weeks, but most of the summer. But yeah, I think it's a great show. The scheduling is great. The management's great. Footing, everything across the board. I really can't imagine going anywhere else during the summer.
What's one thing you would tell like the listeners and stuff that outside of the horse show, what's one thing that you love to do about Travers?
I love going down to the water with my dog.
Aw.
She loves to go swimming in the lake. But yeah, if you go sort of downtown, there's nice little beaches, and she loves to just dip her toes in the water. And I just find it very peaceful.
Oh, well, nice. Well, then I might have to come find your dog and the kids can come play because we're going up there with our kids. So they would love it. They love the water too. So we might have to meet at that place.
Yeah, and even Mondays too, going out on the boat. And I can't remember the sandbar, but there's a really incredible sandbar. I can't remember the name, but it's so nice, and it's really great to sort of like decompress and just check out on a Monday afternoon.
Oh, well, I'll have to look into that because we're going for a couple of weeks. So thank you very much.
Yeah, of course. It's lovely.
Well, speaking of Travers, Charlotte, you were the 2024 leading jumper rider there with the most points from National Grand Prix, which is amazing. Can you share some tips or tricks of your routine that you feel really sets you and your horses up for success?
Yeah, I think being consistent with your horses and consistent with your program, so they know when it's a show day or when it's a relaxing day. I think for me, my horse Rinkula Milshan was sort of the reason why I won that award last year, and he won so much up in Traverse City, and he's sort of a testament to that program where he knows when he has a little bit of time off, or he knows when he's showing, and we're very consistent, very clear with him as to what day it is and what day is a show day and what day is just a lax day. So yeah, I think just being very clear with your horses, being very consistent with your program, and yeah, that brings consistency in the ring.
I loved that, Charlotte. I also wanted to know, when you're shopping for new horses, what are the top qualities that you are looking for in a potential show jump partner?
I think for me, as long as I get a good feeling off the horse, you always want to feel like, they want to do it. Yeah, I think having a horse that really wants to do the sport. A lot of people talk about horses that are flashy or scopy and, in videos when you're looking at horses, but I think if you get a good feeling off a horse and they feel like they agree with your style of riding, it sort of has to go based off of what you feel. It's my horse. I keep referring back to Rinkula Milshan, but he is a very quirky horse. But I remember when I tried him, and we got along so well, and that relationship is something that's really blossomed into a very successful partnership. And I think, of course you want a horse with scope and that's careful, but I think when they have a really positive attitude and a good brain and want to do it and want to learn, then you're going to end up with a more successful partnership and a longer career with a horse, rather than one that, might look really careful or look really scopy, but maybe it doesn't want to do it as much as the other horse. So yeah, just a good brain, to be honest.
That makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah.
All right, Charlotte, we've got one last question for you, and it's a fun one. It's Hillsdown Happy Hour, so we got to put you on the spot here. Thinking of summer in Traverse City where the weather is beautiful, you can be out in the water, is there like a go-to cocktail that you love? Maybe like when you're out in Traverse City in the summertime?
I actually don't really drink that much.
Oh, that's okay.
But I do, like, I love like a gin and tonic, or even like a Corona, something like that, something really refreshing.
You're a classic.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah, simple. I love a gin and tonic.
Well, Charlotte, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a blast to have you.
Yeah, thank you guys. Talk to you guys soon.
Bye.
Introducing the Vertical, the latest innovative saddle pad from EcoGold, a modern monochromatic pad which features breathable memory foam and a soft microfiber for lightweight comfort and performance. Sleek and minimalist, it's designed to meet the needs of contemporary riders with style and function. Don't miss out on the 2025 EcoGold Armatech Apparel collab. Complete your training or showing look with a matching equestrian shirt, saddle pad, and half pad. Get the details at www.ecogold.ca. All right, guys, it's that time. Who wants to go first?
I can go first.
Okay.
Go for it.
So my thorn is just an annoying one. We talked on the last podcast that I was so excited about Florida and Live Oak and Hits and WEC and all of the above. And it still was a great time. And I still experienced all the places. But while the horses got down there, Quincy stepped on his coronet band. And it was just enough that it took him out the first week. And he was sound. But the first time he was like, a little tender on it. And we just didn't want to push it. We've got a big spring and summer and everything else. And, he's a bit of a baby. So we were just giving him the extra time. So we didn't end up doing the FEI, but it was great. Count was amazing at Hits and it all worked out. And we were able to still jump him a couple times in the second half. So it worked out, but he didn't do the FEI. So that was kind of unfortunate because we were all looking forward to that. But on my Rose side is down during that trip. We were there the whole first week because it was Hudson's spring break. And it was our anniversary during that first week on the weekend. And so without doing the FEI, we had kind of an extra day and we started searching around. There was a place called St. Petersburg, which somebody else on this podcast lives. And we probably flew over her house, but we landed and did a day trip to St. Petersburg because it was a really short trip from Ocala. And we just walked around the town and there's a Dolly museum there. And it's going to be on our destination to go back because we only had enough time to kind of walk the pier and have a quick bite to eat before having to get back to the horse show. But that place is amazing, Justine.
Oh, I know. I'm so bummed that I missed you guys, but also it was your anniversary.
We didn't tell anybody.
I
we
know.
texted Justine afterwards and said, by the way, we were at St. Petersburg.
I know. I was like, what? You're like, they flew into the airport that's 2 blocks from my house.
And we walked the whole time. So the original plan was just there's a restaurant we didn't know how cool the place was. So there was just a restaurant at the airport and we thought, we'll just fly in, eat real quick and then fly back out. Just something that we like to do. And it's what we do as our fun thing outside of horses. So we thought, that'll be fun. And then we got there and we were flying over, you fly over the pier. It's such a cute little place. And they said, you can walk. There was a play area. The kids played. We walked down the boardwalk. We walked down the pier. It was so much fun. So
I'm glad
we'll have
you
to
had a
come
good
back.
time.
So anybody go visit Justine and maybe tell her that you're going to be there because she was kind of mad that I didn't. But Justine, is that your thorn that I didn't text you? I'm just kidding. What was your rose?
I knew it was your anniversary. I was
No,
going to be
I'm
like,
just
can I
teasing.
third wheel your anniversary trip?
I would have.
My best friend does it every time. She used to show up before kids. She'd show up on our anniversary trip.
Oh, that's funny. Oh boy.
Because she had a lake house nearby. She'd be like, oh yeah, I'm crashing. It actually turned out to be fun half the time. Not gonna lie. So what is your rose and thorn?
So my rose is that I am officially signed up for my first USDF rated horse show. Back.
Yay!
I know.
Look, she's becoming a real dressage queen.
I'm all in, man. It's not good. It's I feel very uncomfortable about it, but my trainer talked me into it. It's this weekend, so it's Friday. Yeah. And my trainer's like, just do it. Stop. She was like, you're ready. Just do it. I'm like, okay. So I made
You can
myself...
wear your matchy the day before.
That's my plan. I'm bringing my EcoCode, all of it, to for Friday. I'm going to be in all of it. I'm going to take lots of pictures for you guys.
I'm going to say, if we don't get pictures, that will be my thorn next time.
I will have the pictures. Don't you worry. But no, I'm excited. It's with, I love my trainer. I love her community, like all the riders. But it's just a small group of us. But it's actually Michelle, Jess, that I'm showing with. She's here for the winter from Alabama. Yeah. My friend who, on our way to the makeover, she was our stopover place. So she's here with her.
Cutest little place.
Yeah. And so she's got a lovely little ex-eventer that she's doing dressage with. And so it's Mikey and her horse, Cooper, with our dressage trainer's young horse. So I'm excited. They're like, we already made the Hard Rock Casino is the closest thing to the fairgrounds here. It's really funny. But so like we have dinner reservations every night to go out. And they're going to have a mimosa bar. And I was like, maybe I can get behind this.
I was going to say.
Diva lifestyle. This isn't so
You're
bad.
You're going to rock this diva lifestyle.
So right now I'm currently picking out what outfits I should wear to the horse show. So maybe I'll post in our Facebook group and you guys can help me decide.
Absolutely.
But most of all, I'm just hoping we ride well. I'm not looking for a lot of pressure, but just hoping we ride well. And Mikey is happy to do the job. And it's exciting to have something like that to look forward to again after a very long time. So I'm excited, even though, gosh darn it, it's been a minute since I've done a rated show. And those suckers are expensive. Ooh.
Yes.
I'm like, whoa, it's been a minute. This is a hefty chunk of change.
That's your thorn.
I'm like, I'm just showing in Tampa. This is crazy. I'm like not even going to Ocala, but it is what it is. We're going to have a good time. But so my thorn is, I guess it is kind of a thorn. It's funny though. So while I'm like renewing all my registrations, cause it's been many years, redoing my safe sport, yada, yada. I'm submitting all of Mikey's like jockey club paperwork to USDF. And you have to submit breed paperwork, yada, yada, for all breeds awards. I'm like, I might as well just do the whole shebang while I'm doing this. And I just love the jockey club for how much information you can find about your horse. Like, it's amazing. They do a wonderful job of just tracking racehorses. And you got to remember, Mikey never actually raced. He's just registered with the jockey club. But I have videos of him selling at the Keeneland yearling auction.
I know, he's so cute.
I know, but it's amazing. It's so amazing.
It's amazing to have all that.
I know, but now the latest thing, because I haven't looked up any of this stuff in a couple of years, but I had to find his breeding paperwork and stuff this last week. And you can look up the names that, the person who registers the horse originally with the jockey club submits as their racing names. And whether or not they get accepted, like if they get if they get rejected, yeah, they have all of those saved. So I have all of Mikey's names that were rejected. Do you guys want to know them?
Yes.
What kind of question is that? I'm like, I need to know.
The first one that was rejected was "wanna be like Mike," all one word. I'm like, okay, all right. I kind of like it. Wanna be like Mike.
I kind of like that.
But this is my favorite one that also got rejected. Big Spike.
I don't know. I kind of I want to be like Mike better.
I know, but Big Spike.
But I want to know who Mike is that you want to be like Mike, though. If that was the trainer, that'd be pretty cool.
I know. But yeah, so Big Spike makes me, and this will age me, but it makes me think of Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yes!
Oh my gosh.
I was like, Mikey totally gives Spike vibes. I could get behind.
Yeah. So, but now he's Magic Mike. It all makes sense.
Magic Mike. Yeah.
So, but it's been fun to go back through all that stuff.
That is super fun, actually.
I know. What about you, Ellie? What's your Rosenthorn?
Well, I mean, other than Berkeley pulling a shoe,
right.
I have a thorn with also a recommendation. Okay. So I feel like I say all the time that Libby has fragile skin and she just cuts herself all the time. I don't know if she rocks get her or if she, steps on herself or what, but weird because I had it for my cat that passed away a couple of years ago. Have you guys used SSD cream? I feel like I'm late to
Oh yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Okay.
in bulk.
Okay. Late to the party because I'd only ever used Neosporin on everything. So
Have you been living under a rock?
I guess so. Okay. So I had used it on my cat, but I was like, I've never, and my dog, but I'd never used it on the horses. And then when Berkeley cut his hip and I took him up to Cornell for no reason, they were like, oh yeah, you can just throw SSD on that. And I was like, is that like a normal thing? So
yes.
Long story short, I was talking to my vet and he was like, yeah, like this will heal so much better and faster. And it's so much better for things.
It's for wound cream. It's for wound like victims in humans.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's amazing.
For lower legs.
Yeah,
it's for
like
everything.
Neosporin on drugs. It's like amazing. Yeah.
Well, so the way that my vet explained it was that the petroleum jelly like kind of slows down healing. Like it's good if you want to keep things moist, but like for things on the legs that you're trying to get to close fast so you don't have proud flesh and things like that.
SSD cream.
So anyway, I'm new to that party. So I started that or whatever when Berkeley got his thing. And I was like, it was my first time actually using it on Libby. And I was like, where has this been my whole life?
I know.
She
has
such sensitive skin. It takes her so like her healing. She's older, right? It takes her a long time. But I was like, I wrapped it up with some SSD. She stayed inside for like a couple weeks and then we're good out in the mud. And I'm like, and it's right on her pastern. So I didn't want her to go out if it wasn't healed up, So my thorn is that where the heck was I my entire life?
I mean, on your defense, the only reason, like the first person who introduced it to me is a friend that I ride with. Like she's like my best riding friend, but she's a vet.
Okay,
so
fair.
And she Mikey cut himself one time and she's like, she saw what I was using and she's like, what are you doing? Use this. So I mean, I feel like that's not fair.
I feel like I'm grateful that I hadn't had something that like Neosporin couldn't fix,
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm like, oh my God. Anyway, so SSD cream, if you haven't joined the party, don't feel bad. I didn't either, but join the party.
But now join the party.
Yeah. And my rose is actually the most mundane and like horrifyingly adult, non-horse related rose of all time. Okay.
All right.
So it's nothing to do with menopause, so don't worry. But
Ellie, as our youngest member of the show, disclaimer.
I wait till it's actually menopause time.
People are going to start Googling Ellie's age. Is she 45?
Oh, God.
I feel like it sometimes. But in any case, so I went to go visit my mom because I had a doctor's appointment and we had a nice time. But I was so excited because we went and sat in office chairs so I could find a new office chair for my back, for my office.
Now I understand the disclaimer.
They're 100% Googling your age right now.
Yeah. So I was like, wow, this is like so pitiful. But so, yeah. So my rose is that I have like finished like redoing my office, which is so sad because it's like, why would that
be not though? I just feel like that happened to me during like COVID, like when we had to all work from home. But that's a really important part of your day if you're somebody who's on a computer all day. So I get it.
I have been like, my office chair was one of my mom's old ones, and it's like starting to bite the bullet. And I was like, oh. And
time for a new one.
When Matt redid like the trim around my windows and stuff, we took down the old blinds and we never put new ones up. I had like a raggedy like towel like hanging from my window, and I bought blinds and I was like, I'm so excited. And then Matt got a new vacuum for us and I was like, oh my God, I feel so old. That
all these adult purchases.
And these are such exciting purchases.
Because they make a big difference in your day-to-day life, right? It's crazy.
For real. Like not having a window or a towel with holes in it that like lets the sun through when I'm trying to work, and having an actual window blind instead. Definitely recommend. I haven't gotten my chair yet. I ordered it, but it's not here yet. But so I'm just really excited
to amazing.
Have something more ergonomic with my lumbar support. That makes me sound so old.
It's okay.
gone.
It's
my
your comfort.
bars-
It's okay. It's okay. Oh my goodness. All right. So we do have a good mailbag that I think both of you guys will have good insight. This is Cassandra posted this in our Facebook group. She wanted to talk pre-purchase exams. When selling a horse, what is customary these days? I feel like that is a very broad question, and we could talk about this for an entire episode if we wanted to.
Right.
But she had some good bullet points. So, does a seller put a deposit down to hold a horse? Is that refundable or not refundable? How much of the purchase price should a deposit be? What, if someone's going to pull a PPE, what is customary? Why don't we start with that? Jess, what about for you guys when you guys are selling?
So it really depends. I mean, what the age is of the horse, what the experiences of the horse, what are your expectations of the horse? That all kind of depends. I mean, you could go crazy and spend thousands of dollars, but if the horse is only $5,000, you're going to spend almost that in just a pre-purchase. So it really depends. And if it's a young horse, it might not tell you, if it's a weanling or that,
Right.
you're not going to have all of it. So I'm just going to say, for sakes of this conversation, it's a horse that's going, middle of the level. It's not a top of the sport, but it's not a baby. And it's already kind of doing its job. What I would do is hocks, stifles, ankles, and feet. Whether those are all 4 ankles or all 4 feet, that's kind of determining it. And I would start 100% with the flexions. So make sure the vet doesn't find something extra that you're not going to want to go. My biggest advice from experience is if you find something in that, it's quite lame on the right front or whatever, don't go deep diving to find out why it's lame. It's pretty lame. Maybe move on to the next one. It's probably going to cause problems.
Yeah.
Don't go, years and years and years ago, Doug's like, but I really like this horse. Let's go and find out why it's lame. I'm like, it's a 4-year-old. It shouldn't be that lame. And it shouldn't, it's not doing its job. It's different. If one just needs an injection, you kind of have to be real about it. And so, if it's a 11-year-old that goes advanced and it's a little weird on a flexion, well, maybe find out, has it ever been injected? Maybe inject it, see if that gets better. You know what I mean? If it just got injected, fine, maybe there's different conversations about it, but really kind of just be smart about it and find a vet that you can trust to say, look, basic flexions, basic, x-rays, everything else, just kind of start from there. But I do start with the flexions and the heart and the eyes to make sure there it is. Do they palpate on their back? If they don't palpate anywhere on their back, or they're super flexible and they go well on a circle and everything, depending on what it is and depending on how they feel, I might not do back. I might not do neck, but there's other ones that maybe feel like they could. I just verify. Because that's kind of what you want. I had a horse that had an awful looking front leg. It got wrapped up in wire as a baby. It was going preliminary, done 1 preliminary at the time. It was probably 10 years old, call it. And I sent the images. We did go, because it never bothered it on any flexions. The x-rays looked good. I did put a ultrasound on it just to make sure. And they're like, this is really old scar tissue. And I sent it to my vet just as a questions and said that. He goes, there's no way this horse is ever going to have a problem with that leg. That horse is now 28, 29 years old. And he's the one that went to Kentucky with me. But he was rock solid. He has the gnarliest looking leg. He got wrapped up in wire when he was a baby in Australia. So you kind of have to take it and take the advice. I don't think the x-rays and all that, they can be the end all, but they don't have to be, depending on what it is my advice for a pre-purchase.
Yeah.
What about you, Ellie? What advice
I think Jess, you kind of nailed it on the head, right? A pre-purchase exam is not a pass or fail.
Exactly.
It is a what is going to keep the horse going at what you're asking the horse to do, and what is going to be necessary for keeping them comfortable, as
can you maintain it?
Exactly.
Right.
And
Right.
And are
I
you
mean,
comfortable with that maintenance? Also, that's the other one. Are you comfortable with the maintenance that might, what that is given, that information's given,
Right.
basically?
right. I mean, I'll be honest, like I did a pre-purchase on Berkeley. I did not do a pre-purchase on Batman or Q. Q was he had only ever been under saddle with me. I was like, I don't care. I'm going to buy him either way. So it doesn't really matter to me.
Yeah.
And same thing with Batman. I bought him for $2,500. And if I had known about these stifle cysts before I bought him, I still would have bought him. So it did not make a
Didn't matter.
difference. Right. It didn't make a difference to
Same.
me. I knew he had arthritis. I was ready for that. I knew he would need daily Equiox. I knew he would need Adequan. Like, I knew all that. So that didn't bother me. But with Berkeley, right, he was 4 when I bought him, just turned 4. And he was like a long-term investment for me and an investment in our partnership,
Program.
right? Because
Yeah.
I wanted him to be able to, I mean, originally I had goals of doing, the meter 20, meter 30s with him. And then I realized that I don't want to die. So, so could he do it? Yes, I'll watch. That's okay. Like,
Yeah.
I jumped a meter 40 one time on him, and that was enough for me. I said, I think I just pissed myself, and I'm good.
I'm out.
But so yeah, for him, and like you said, biggest thing for me is all 4 legs, eyes, heart. Those things are important to me. And with Berkeley, right, I wanted to make sure, because he is a draft cross, I wanted to make sure what we were looking at from an arthritis perspective, like how we were looking in terms of everything. He flexed well, so I wasn't super concerned. But again, I wanted to make sure that I knew the information to keep him comfortable as an older horse.
Yeah.
In terms of when I go with clients, the most recent sale that I've gone to, we put a deposit down on the horse after we tried it. We tried the horse and we were like, seems pretty chill, seems pretty calm. It was young. It was 3 and it had meh conformation. Like, I'll be honest, I even said, like, I'm not really happy with him being pigeon-toed and things like that. As a 3-year-old, you're going to look at things being an issue later on. And something that I think is super, super important that ended up being very important for this pre-purchase, right, is drug test the horse.
Yes.
Always. Because this horse was super fine, like, and he was still not like angsty or anything when we came for the pre-purchase, but all of a sudden he was lame. So if he had bute in the past 2 weeks, they can tell you that on that blood test. And that is extremely important because you need to know that stuff. Like,
it just keeps the people accountable.
Right. And that is extremely important. That deposit that we put down was refundable if the pre-purchase showed us anything that we, were hard nose on, or anything that was not disclosed, right? If they didn't know it, if they took an x-ray of the left front, and the horse had navicular changes, but they were not aware of it, fine. But if they did not tell us and we found out they were aware, or it didn't pass the drug test, right? Those things, then it was refundable. This one was refundable because the horse was lame on the lunge line when we came back, and we were like, no.
Yeah, no.
Like, it was literally the next day.
Yeah.
So
wow. Yeah.
No.
For us, we did a $500 deposit on that horse. And I think his asking price, if I recall correctly, was $7 or $8 grand. I think that depends on the asking price, but then also what the owners are comfortable with. Like,
I think it's everybody's different, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, we don't do deposits.
Yeah.
So we do first come, first serve, who's going to book a pre-purchase first. Because, like,
exactly.
You could try the horse and wait 3 weeks, and then somebody over the phone could buy it. You know what I mean?
Right,
so, like,
exactly.
and we know you're interested, and we know you're wanting to buy, but everybody's different. So you just have to ask when I mean, communication is key. So we just always ask, like, what do you do? Do you do deposits? How do you hold it? Like, how do you do this? And for us personally, it's if you're booking a vetting, if you plan on vetting them, if you're booking the vetting, then that basically will not show that horse again until the vetting happens. Because generally speaking, the vetting's that week or within a week period.
Right.
So then we're comfortable holding it because you're interested. Why don't you get the knowledge in the pre-purchase and then be done and go from there?
Right.
Yeah, I think you guys nailed it on. It depends on the horse and the situation and
Yep.
the price. I buy them off the track. I never pre-purchase them. I looked at Mikey and knew. You know what I mean? You look at his legs
Right.
and you know. But yeah,
I think if
just
you're
depends.
not comfortable with the knowledge and like knowing yourself, is find a trustworthy trainer and or vet.
Exactly.
That is the biggest thing.
Right. What is going to be the safest bet for you in your
Yes.
ability, in your, like long-term relationship with this horse? That same vet friend that turned me on to the SSD cream, like she buys very nice horses and never pre-purchases them. And I think that is fairly taboo. You know what I mean? But she's a vet. So
Yeah.
why would she? She can do the PPE. But
Right. Yeah.
again, it's a fact-finding mission, you know what I mean? To know like what you're going to live
100%.
with. If you want to do prelim one day, will the horse stay sound to do that kind of work, But again, it's horses, man. Like owning
Right.
one, riding one, the risk is always there that tomorrow is not promised. If we know anything from spending any time around horses, like the risk is always there no matter what. So I think pre-purchase exams exist to make people feel better,
Yeah.
and you have to determine what is it that makes you feel good when making that kind of a commitment.
For
Yeah.
sure.
So,
And-
but yeah, with deposits, I feel like when like during COVID, when horses were selling like hotcakes, deposits were like, pretty standard, especially if you were like, I want to pre-purchase the horse, you pay a deposit for that seller to hold it for you to set up the vet exam.
Yeah.
I feel like that's pretty standard. And also the vet exam has to be in a reasonable time because,
Yeah.
if a seller, if that's their business, I think you got to be willing to work with like what makes sense for them because they're not going to sit on a horse for you for 30 days,
Exactly.
No.
Yeah.
So the deposit just shows that you are a serious buyer. And so if I was serious, as a buyer, I would be happy to pay a deposit, just for the
Yeah.
peace of mind for me that this horse isn't going to be sold underneath me while I'm doing my due diligence, So I don't know. I wish there was a standard formula in the industry, but there's not. So you have to do what you're comfortable with, I think, on
Yeah.
whatever side of the equation you're on.
I mean, and let me just say too, like, even if you, for example, right, like Justine and I talked about, when we saw our horse, we knew we were getting it. Didn't matter what the pre-purchase said. I am a full supporter of after purchase exams. Like, even if you don't want the seller to know that information or it's not going to affect you, like, do that baseline test for your horse, because that way you can know how to best care for them and what they're going to need. That has been a huge thing with Q and, Batman, knowing what might be issues in the future, what to look for. Because I was like, it didn't matter. It was not going to make or break my purchase, but I still want to make sure that I'm setting them up for success.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's just the more you know, you can make a more educated decision no matter what the decision is,
Absolutely.
Well, if you have a question for us and you want us to answer it on the air, you should send us an email, which is justine@heelsdownmedia.com, or you should join our Facebook group. That's where Cassandra originally shared this pre-purchase exam question. Our Facebook group is the Heels Down Happy Hour Podcast Lounge. And if you want to hear more from us, check out heelsdownmag.com for the latest news and follow us online. We're at Heels Down Happy Hour on Instagram and at Heels Down Mag on Facebook and TikTok. And if you love our show, please give us a rate and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And we want to say thank you to our sponsors this month, Traverse City Horse Shows, EcoGold, and Sinutra Equine. All right, guys, that's a wrap.
Cheers.